Welcome to One Big Boat. We're all in this together. A show focused on people and organizations whose work is making a true difference in people's lives. Today, we welcome aboard Susan Shaver, the president of Needham Community Farm.
That land was originally used. It was part of the Nike site for rockets and missiles.
She's here to talk about the farm and all it produces for the community. That's next on One Big Boat. We're all in this together. So when I did a Google search, my research on you, I came across a quote, rockets to radishes.
Yeah. Yeah, what's that all about?
Yeah, what is that all about?
Okay.
That's a great place to start.
Yeah, so it really is because, so the Needham Community Farm, we lease land from the town of Needham for $1 a year. And we are located out near Ridge Hill and the dog park. And that land was originally used. It was part of the Nike site for rockets and missiles. The missiles weren't actually there, but it was part of the whole site for the missiles. So when we were awarded the use of the land, now over 16 years ago, the land, the dirt wasn't the soil was pretty...
The soil was very sandish, maybe?
Very sandy and not very good. And we had to haul in a lot of organic soil to supplement and things like that. So I'd like to see rockets to radishes as going from kind of a wartime destination, a destination that's supporting war, to a place that nourishes the community. And so we like to say rockets to radishes. So.
And just to be clear, there's no radioactive material.
No, not
We don't
at all.
have exercise like radishes or tomatoes.
No, nothing like that.
Nothing that's going to win a 4-H fair.
No.
Excellent. Yes, that's perfect.
No.
So what would you say your mission is now?
Well, the Needham Community Farm, our mission is really to connect the community with nature, our food system, and the food that we grow. And we see it as 3 intertwined things. The first of which is to grow food and give it to people in our own community who are food insecure. So really easing that in the community on the farm. And the third is to build community through volunteerism. So we receive a lot of volunteers, from families to teens to corporations, and they have a really good time coming onto the farm. Yeah. So.
People might be watching this and you think of Needham, Massachusetts, 20 minutes outside of Boston, try to buy a house here and you're looking at 7 figures. Mm-hmm. Where's the food insecurity? Yeah,
so I feel like that's such a good question because in every single community in this country, including Needham and Wellesley and Newton, there are people in the community, who are food insecure, defined by can't put the right mix of food on the table for the right nutrients on a given daily, weekly, or monthly basis. So, there are people in Needham who live in Needham housing. So the Needham Housing Authority runs different residential neighborhoods, and those folks are naturally being cleared to be in housing, are on kind of, not
lower
as
incomes.
Yeah, it's lower income. And there are other people who may or may not be in lower income housing, but for whatever reason, they fall beneath a certain income level and they can access food. The Needham Community Council runs a food pantry where we donate produce and people can go and access food there as well. So food insecurity since COVID has gone from like 8% average in the state of Massachusetts, closer to 18, 19, 20%. So it's really spiked since COVID. And the other thing that's worth noting is that food insecurity is very invisible. So you don't know who might be feeling food insecure. It could be somebody who's been laid off. It could be somebody who's sick and is paying very high medical bills. I mean, there's a lot of reasons for kind of that invisibility to food insecurity. So it's not just the target audiences we're talking about, but also more than that, college students, they're the ones eating ramen noodles. I mean, they're not necessarily putting the right mix of food on their plates. And the elderly is another target population. But overall, the people who we work with, who we donate food to, are people who live in Needham Community Housing and people who access food through the Needham Community Council Food Pantry.
About 2-3 years ago, we did a video for a North Shore organization called Root. They basically train people to be cooks and in a commercial setting. And they got about $500,000 from the state. And there's a huge funding for that. And what they did is they then were able to buy the food from local farms, make it, and then give it to a food pantry. Were you part of that? I was surprised by, there were boys and girls clubs that got money because they're handling food insecurity. It really opened my eyes to the problem within the state.
Right. We weren't part of that particular initiative, but we tend to watch, witness, and cheer on other initiatives throughout the state because it's so exciting to see different things happening. I mean, there's a lot of initiatives in Boston, in the different Boston neighborhoods with urban, food production and cooking. And we've been doing a little bit of cooking, but not at the level that you're talking about.
As a Christmas gift, I was going to get our staff, I was going to buy them some gift certificates so they could take some of your training courses, but you guys are booked out. You guys are sold out.
Yeah, right. Well, right now, we haven't opened 2026 gardening classes. So you're still...
We still can get the,
you still can,
the editors and something?
Yes. Yeah.
Excellent.
So we do gardening classes, and that's really fun. People love the gardening classes. And we also have community beds where people can lease a bed for the year and go out onto the farm and garden themselves.
How many beds do you have out there?
Well, so there's two parts to the farm. One is our production farm, and we've got several hundred beds out there for production. We also have the Needham Community Farm was awarded a grant by the Needham Preservation Committee, and we've built out 150 raised beds for residents to go and farm and garden with their own bed that they lease there. So there's, so that's 150 beds for residents, and then we have several hundred beds that are in production.
Is it people coming back year after year after year? I mean, is it like a yacht club where you got to wait to get in?
Yeah, so we almost fill up for the community beds. We almost fill up. So almost every single year, we are almost at capacity. We set aside a certain amount of beds for scholarship as well. So we want to make sure that anyone who wants to garden out there can. And so we set aside a certain amount of beds to make sure that is available. And you're right, though, the gardening classes fill up very quickly. And and it's very often the same people come back year after year because it's not just learning about gardening, and every year there's something nuanced about, the weather or the soil or, insects that are creating problems, but also just the community of just being back out on the field with the same group of people. I think people really love that.
Boston Globe had an article. Some people, I call them lightning bugs, some of them call them fireflies. Mm-hmm. But they had this article about how they're going away because of a lot of the chemicals and everything else. Yes. Now, where the chemicals mean probably the most is in our food supply. How do you guys combat that? I know you say you're organic, but if somebody's doing something a mile away and the wind brings it over, like how does this all work?
Well, so as a very small nonprofit farm, the way we frame it is that we're doing regenerative farming, or what we call sustainable farming. We don't technically call ourselves organic because it's actually a fairly lengthy, costly process by which we would get certified to say we're an organic, growing destination. But everything that we do is to, we're stewards of the land out there. So it's, we're responsible for caretaking that land, ensuring that we're putting the right nutrition back into the soil, and we don't use any anything harmful for both the food, the people, or the land. But in terms of the wind blowing in our direction, I mean, we have no control over that. I mean, I guess our biggest complaint would be the wildfires in Canada blowing,
ashes into the ground.
And just cloudy days,
Yeah.
rather than beautiful, bright, sunny days. But besides that, we do typically test our soil every single year. So UMass has a soil testing facility. So we scoop up soil based on all of the rules about how you do it. And we ship out usually anywhere from, 10 to 20 random soil samples to send that out to UMass for testing. And it doesn't come back with any red flags, as we would expect it would not, because we've really brought in organic soil to work with. And but sometimes we realize and learn that we have to supplement the soil with something.
Coming up.
My mother grew up in North Dakota, and she was one of 6 kids, and they were very poor.
What drives Susan to continue to work on the farm?
Boston, where historic charm meets modern luxury. The best part, wait until you see inside.
We were talking earlier, dirt is in your blood, isn't
it? Yeah. So I did grow up, I grew up in Glastonbury, Connecticut, and worked on a produce farm. It was called the Old Cider Mill. It was several 100 acres, and they grew a lot of food. And my sister and I would be out in the fields all summer long, like tying up tomatoes and, just planting different things. And yeah, so I worked on a farm during the summer, during those hot dog days of summer, and went home completely filthy and dirty. And I honestly loved it. I mean, I never complained. I really enjoyed it.
So you go from just loving it to now kind of running it. Mm-hmm. What's that like, and how does that work for you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, we, I would say on the whole, I feel like our organization is very strong, and it's strong in a couple of different ways. We have a profound support from the entire Needham community. We have a very strong board of directors, all of which are pretty involved, taking on different initiatives depending on what time of year it is and what passion people have. We have absolutely fabulous employees, and we have a pretty robust and thorough screening process when we are bringing in a new employee, because it's really important to us that it's a small team. We usually have anywhere from 2 to 4 people out on the farm in the fields, and we have 1 development director, marketing person that's year round, but working mostly indoors, making things happen. But how do I like it? Well, I mean, I've, moving on from high school and college, I spent several years in financial services and the high-tech sector, and loved business and spreadsheets and PowerPoint presentations. And I just feel very connected to the passion, to what we're doing. I'd also say on a personal note, Generationally, the food insecurity, my mother grew up in North Dakota, and she was one of 6 kids, and they were very poor, like dirt poor, and they were food insecure. And I have, let's just say, very close relatives today who are also food insecure and rely on support services and SNAP to access food. So food insecurity is pretty near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of the artist Harry Chapin.
Mhm.
And I just remember him saying something along the lines of that it would be great to have a school assembly on the Monday after Thanksgiving and say, what we did, the outpouring of generosity was incredible.
Yeah.
But now we're going to talk about what are all those people going to eat tomorrow?
Right. Yes. I know. I do think about that sometime around May, June. Well, I think isn't there a World Hunger Day in May? So there is some kind of balancing force to kind of think about that as well. But yes, I mean, it's every other day of the year, there's people who are.
Yeah. How do you, is there special programs for kids so they can get their hands dirty, so they can be
Yeah.
that kid working on the cider farm?
Yeah, so kids can come to the farm in a couple of different ways. The first of which is we love to have families come to the farm and volunteer. So if you're under 12, you would come with a parent or parents. So it's really wonderful to have entire families on the farm and just doing whatever farm work there is. We love having students come. So in Needham, you have to either as middle school and definitely high school, you have to serve a certain amount of hours to graduate from high school in community service. So we really welcome and do a lot of work with students so that they can get their community service hours in. So we love having the students. We also have a lot of corporate groups that come in, nonprofit groups, corporate groups, anyone who wants to kind of do some good in the community or some team building, and they come through, and sometimes that includes their families. So yeah, there's a lot of ways kids can come. And then also, I mean, we've got, of course, we get, Girl Scout troops, Boy Scout troops, those sort of things. And we also offer a really cool family gardening class where you can sign up for family gardening class, and it's a very large community bed. And so it's guided by an expert gardener. But if you miss a week or 2 weeks because you're on vacation, it's not a big deal. It's priced such that it's very exciting for families to sign up and participate for 20 weeks starting in April. And then whoever's around on different weeks might be the ones picking the produce or weeding. But it's a great way for families to kind of bring the kids in and participate in something wholesome like, gardening classes.
Are you familiar with the Gangster Gardener?
Is he out of Boston?
He's out of South LA. And he does a
okay.
TED Talk, and he's like, if a kid grows a tomato, they'll eat a tomato.
Yes.
If a kid grows kale, they're going to eat kale.
Yes. We've also done gardening classes. We take gardening classes to different destinations in Needham, but that is all grant. That's all grant funded, so it has to be a grant for a program. So we've brought gardening over to Needham Housing Authority has one of their neighborhoods is Captain Robert Cook's, and that's families that live in that part of the housing units. And so there's a daycare there, and so we've brought gardening classes over to those kids, which has been really great for them.
And partnerships, corporate partnerships.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot. I mean, we have a very wide variety of corporate partnerships. So there's the flavor of partnerships because they are some sort of grant giver or donor or sponsor of our food security, for a food donation program. A lot of banks in the area. It's worth really noting there's a few in particular that are particularly supportive to us. Needham Bank, and Needham Bank works very closely with Beth Israel Hospital in Needham. And so they are a great source for us, not obviously for funding, but also we do programs with them sometimes. So there's reasons for us to kind of come together and do some sort of nutrition program or educational program or a cookbook or things like that. There's a lot of banks. There's foundations that give us money. We've received a 3-year award from the Cummings Foundation, which is it's a really nice award because it's for 3 years and takes quite a bit to get in to be even considered. But once you considered and awarded it, it's for 3 years, which is for a small nonprofit like ourselves, it's actually quite it's remarkable and quite exciting. We also have a lot of strong partnerships with, the Needham Health Department and the executive team within the town of Needham and the Needham Center at the Heights, and we do programming, over there. We have a direct relationship with Needham Housing Authority, both the executive director and the staff there, because we, have our mobile market that we bring over there, and the relationship, of course, with the people at the Needham Community Council.
How do people find you?
How do they find us? Word of mouth. If they Google, if they're trying to find a local CSA, community supported agriculture, they might type in CSA near me and they might find the Needham Community Farm or, so our website's pretty search friendly, I would say. But we do promote ourselves on Facebook and on Instagram, and we put old-fashioned flyers around town when we're trying to promote something as well.
Yeah, so if people want to find you, they can find you. Do you have any, last thing, do you have gardening tips? Like, I know what I learned, I love growing tomatoes in a raised bed, and I realized that you bury them deep because the stem becomes part of the root system, makes them stronger.
Yes, and I'm a little reluctant, knowing all the expertise beyond me, that I don't want to give you too much advice. But you're right. You have to take the plant and bury it. Yeah. You remove some of the lower branches to give it the right nutrients and the strength to be very productive.
Do you have any tips? Do you have a favorite tip? I know I'm putting you on the spot here.
You are really putting me on the spot.
The other thing I was told
to take
aspirin. And you crunch up like one little aspirin, you put in a big thing of water.
Yeah. And
you put it on the plant. And it makes it like sick at first, but then it comes back thriving.
Wow. I have not heard that one.
You have to look it up. Okay. You know what people can do? People can go to your website. They're going to go to your Facebook page, and you're going to have a tip there.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. We'll work on that. All right. Thank you.
Coming in.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. One Big Boat is a production of Last Minute Productions Incorporated. This episode was produced by me, Jay Dobeck. Ryan Macheski was the sound engineer. Jim Johnson provided production support. And Joanne Pilata is the production coordinator.